Hi, I'm Mark Gaylor, Sony Alpha Ambassador for Australia, and I have here the A7R Mark II mirrorless camera. It's got the same full frame. The resolution has been hiked to now 42.4 megapixels, and we have a fabulous T-Star EVF. Okay, so Zeiss glass in there. It's bigger, it's better, it's sharper. And now I've been shooting with this one for a little over a week, and it's really turning out to be a remarkable camera. It's not just a minor upgrade from the A7R. We have the steady shot inside, but we also have a whole raft of new features that have really taken the camera market by surprise. We've got that full frame backlit illuminated sensor. We've got 4K recording to the card. We've got silent shooting mode. I can now dial in minimum shutter speeds. So if I'm not shooting portraits or landscapes or studio work, if I want to use this as a street camera, I can just ramp up that minimum shutter speed and take images on the run. So I've been shooting with this, as I said, for a little over a week, and I highly suspect this is going to be Camera of the Year 2015. So I'll take you through some of the menu items and show you some of the features of the camera in a little bit more detail. Okay, now we've got several improvements over the previous A7 camera. We've got a T-Star EVF. Now this gives a really big field of view and exceptionally sharp with that Carl Zeiss glass in there. Now we've got all of the improvements that we saw in the A7 II model over the original A7, and this includes the in-body image stabilization, steady shot inside. Okay, the other great new feature with this particular camera is we now have 4K movies that can record directly to the memory card. Okay, so that's amazing. Now a couple of other minor adjustments or shape to the body design is we actually now have a button on the program dial. This allows us to press the button in order to change modes. Now that is locked down, it can't be bumped out of place without first pressing that button to adjust that. Okay, pretty much all of the other adjustments that we saw come forward on the A7 II model, such as the dual custom buttons on top, can be found on this A7R2 model. It's a more comfortable shooting position for most people, with the shutter release move forward onto this enlarged grip and the second dial position forward onto the front of this grip. Okay, other familiar changes that we saw with the A7 II was the memory card coming in from the side, okay, and obviously the improved grip size, still using the same standard battery size that we expect with all of the mirrorless ILCE cameras. Okay, so let's go and take a look at some of the menu items, because there's more important changes to this camera on the inside than that we're looking at actually on the body of this camera. Okay, let's take a look at what we can find inside of the A7R Mark II menus here. Just on the screen there you can see the new phase detection area, which covers a very large portion of the sensor. We can also see one of the new expandable spot focusing features there. Great new features, but let's dive into the menus to see what else we can find. Okay, the first thing we're going to come across is in the second tab, file format for videos. We have now, as well as the AVC HD, we also have the improved codec, the XAVC-S, which is only half as compressed as the old AVC HD. And we also have a 4K version of that. Now we will need to switch over to the SDXC memory cards to use this new video file format. Okay, but we're going to have much better quality, and obviously with the 4K, much higher resolution. Okay, I'll just come out of that and let's see what else we can find in the menus here. We also have, and this is probably one of my favorite new features, we have this ISO auto minimum shutter speed. Okay, so when we're using auto ISO, perhaps in aperture priority, one of the people that we're requesting for Sony to do was to have a choice to choose a higher shutter speed rate. So that removes any possibility of camera shake, and also has the ability to freeze moving subjects. Now let's just come into this menu. You can see we can set any specific shutter speed that we require as the minimum, but we also have this incredibly useful option here, which is just to go between standard, fast and faster. Now this is if we're say we're shooting with the 55mm Zeiss lens, typically the camera or the old A7R camera would be choosing a 1/60th of a second, and we would have to be incredibly careful to avoid any camera shake on these very high resolution sensors. Now however, all I need to do is just bump that up to fast, and that will double the shutter speed. So now with this 55mm lens, I'll be shooting at 125th of a second. If there's some people moving in the street, I can double that again to 250th of a second. Or if obviously we're working with action photography, I could choose a 500th of a second from here in the menu. Okay, so I'm going to leave that to fast. Also, we have the option to go slow and slower, and this is incredibly useful with ultra wide angle lenses, where I can actually hand hold down to as slow as 1/8 of a second. And so I don't want the camera choosing an artificially high shutter speed. We've got the steady shot inside this camera, so with an image stabilized lens and the combination of the steady shot inside, I don't need the camera pushing the ISO when I know I can hand hold at these slower shutter speeds. Okay, so as I said, incredibly useful. Let's just go back to the menus, see what else we can find in here. Obviously, we now, with the improved movie file formats, we have the opportunity to go into picture profiles. Now, we can pick up one of my favorite picture profiles for shooting movies. It just flattens out the contrast so we don't clip any of the highlights or shadows when we're shooting movies. But we also have the very popular PP7, Picture Profile 7, which is using the S-Log2 gamma. Now, unlike the A7S, we're not forced into using a minimum shutter speed of 3200 ISO. We can actually use a much more sensible 800 ISO when working with this camera. Okay, so I'll just come out of the picture profiles. Maybe I'll just, it's actually set to off at the moment, so obviously for shooting stills, we'll neutralize that picture profile. Okay, so let's take a look at what else we can find in here. We've obviously got the steady shot settings. Obviously with the in-body image stabilization, any non-native lenses that we put on this camera can be stabilized as well. All we need to do is to come into these settings and choose the focal length of the lens that we're putting on, and that becomes a stabilized lens. Okay, so if we've got lenses from the 1940s or 50s that predate image stabilization, they're given a new lease of life on the A7R Mark II. Okay, so let's come back out of the menus, and moving right along, we'll look at some of the other settings that we have here. Okay, so let's, everything's familiar in there. Okay, phase detect area. You can see I had that switched on. I don't need that overlay on the LCD. I know it pretty much covers the entire sensor, so I'll just switch that to off. Okay, let's come over, and we have silent shooting. Okay, with the mechanical front curtain shutter, with the A7R Mark II, we now have a much quieter shutter. We have both the E front curtain shutter, which is quieter, and if that's not quiet enough, we can go into silent mode. Let's just switch that on, and you'll see the silent mode is completely silent. As you can see, we just take a picture. Sometimes you actually need to review the image just to make sure you actually did take a picture with this camera in silent mode. So let's come back out to the menus here, and we'll come back out and take that silent mode off. Now, the only time you might encounter difficulties with that silent shooting is with artificial lights. Okay, so just check you're in the right lighting conditions to be able to access that silent shooting. Okay, so let's coming along, see what else we can see. Again, all familiar stuff. And as we come down, we're looking at some custom key settings there. We can now assign more things to the custom keys than we could ever do before. And perhaps my favorite one of all time now is movie. I've assigned the second custom button now on top of the camera to shoot my movies. So I no longer have to access the recessed movie button here, which is slightly annoying for a lot of videographers. I can now just press the top custom button to access that movie straight away. Okay, so that's some of the best new features that we can find inside of the A7R2. There's obviously many more to enjoy, but those are certainly the ones that I've been noticing in the first few days of shooting with this camera. And as you can see, I've set some of my favorite settings here. Oh, perhaps one that I haven't shown you is here is I've set aside this self timer during bracket. This is very good for HDR shooters. We can now bracket the shots with a timer delay. Okay, so I haven't actually set the bracketing up, so I'll need to do that. Let's just set the bracket up for 3 shots. Okay, and because I've got the timer as a 2-second delay, if I've forgotten my remote release, I can just set that up, and the camera will take 3 bracketed shots without any risk of camera shake. So more new features than you can poke a stick at. This is Christmas come early for many photographers, and this is certainly going to be my vote for Camera of the Year 2015.